Stamina Sorcerer is one of my favorite specs to play in PvP due to their high speed, high energy, hit and run playstyle, which I think is a lot of fun. This is an update to my previous build. It has the same focus on mobility, crit, and strong heals over time, but this time we're packing in a lot more damage and raw killing power. This is a medium armor, dual wield and bow setup. It's a very good build for players who are new to PvP because the gear is easy to get, the playstyle is uncomplicated yet effective and fun, and it's also a very forgiving build with lots of self-healing power and some great tools for getting out of a bad situation when you need to. For my race, I'm an Orc, mainly for the Swift Warrior passive. For a build that largely focuses on mobility, that sprint speed and sprint cost reduction is very attractive. Plus, Orc has some really great passives all around. For my Mundus Stone, I'm using the Serpent for extra stamina recovery. For my food, I'm using Dubious Camera and Throne for yet more stamina recovery. And for my potions, I'm using standard Tri-Stat potions. Here's a look at the stats. I'll also put a link to the UESP build in the description. If you want to take a closer look, you can do that there. I'm putting 14 points into health, which gets my max health up to about 23k, which I think feels pretty good on this build. We're using a lot of movement to avoid taking too much incoming damage, so I think 23k is plenty. Our max stamina is 27k, our max magicka is 10k, which isn't a lot, but we really only need it for surge and streak, so it's actually plenty. Fully buffed, our stamina recovery is 2500. That is quite high, but I'm not using Dark Deal and I don't like running out of stamina, so 2500 stamina recovery allows me to basically put the pedal to the metal and keep it there for as long as I want to. And the damage doesn't really suffer for it. Fully buffed, we have 4600 weapon damage with a 53% crit rate. In a no CP environment, that is an ample amount of damage, especially considering it has 2500 stamina recovery behind it, so you can keep that pressure up almost indefinitely. A quick overview of the gear. I'm using Troll King for my monster set, Briarheart for one of the 5-piece sets, and Morkuldin for the other 5-piece set. I'm wearing 6 medium, 1 heavy, all impenetrable with Tri-Stat glyphs on all 7 pieces. For my jewelry, I'm using 1 infused piece with a weapon damage glyph and 2 robust pieces with a stamina recovery glyph. And for my weapons, I'm using dual precise daggers on the front bar and an infused bow on the back bar. So let's start with Briarheart. I think whoever came up with this set must have had a StamSorc in mind. When it procs, it gives you 450 weapon damage and causes your critical attacks to heal you, which is something that a StamSorc already does thanks to Critical Surge. And so stacking those two together is a very potent combo. The healing tooltip doesn't look like much, but unlike Critical Surge, this heal has no cooldown. And so if you crit multiple times in one instant, the heal also procs multiple times in that same instant. And so think about in a battleground, you're in the middle of a brawl, there are multiple enemies standing all around you, and with all of our AoE, our high crit rate, and multiple dots running on our targets, at any given moment we can easily be critting 5 or 6 times simultaneously. And since the heal from Briarheart has no cooldown, it actually amounts to quite a lot of healing, and the effect is basically like having a second Critical Surge running. On top of the 450 weapon damage the set is giving, which also increases our healing power. So this is a great set, perfect for a StamSorc. It drops in Hrothgar, so you can farm the pieces there, or just buy the pieces from a guild trader. Morkuldin. This is another set that seems perfect for a StamSorc just because it fits so well flavor-wise. The 5-piece bonus causes your light and heavy attacks to summon a cool, glowing, floating sword that attacks your enemies, which is exactly the sort of thing I associate with the Stamina Sorcerer, summoning a magic weapon to help do some of the fighting, just like the Bound Armaments ability. This set was recently fixed so that the damage is a lot more consistent, and the proc chance was removed. It's a guaranteed proc now. So aside from looking cool, it actually is a pretty strong set, and the 2 through 4-piece bonuses are also really good. This is a crafted set, though it does require 9 traits, so if you don't know 9 traits, you may need to get someone to craft it for you, but in my experience, that really isn't too hard to do. I really like Troll King as my defensive monster set as opposed to something like Bloodspawn. The reason is Bloodspawn encourages you to stand still and take some damage in order to get the benefit from it, whereas Troll King encourages you to stay mobile, and as a StamSorc we're at our best when we're on the move, and so I like that Troll King kind of encourages me to commit to the playstyle of being fast and mobile. The headpiece drops from the Blessed Crucible, which is a pretty easy dungeon and one of my favorites. For my weapons on the front bar, I'm using dual wield because that just feels right on a StamSorc to me. They're both precise daggers because I want as much crit as I can get in this build, not only for the healing, which we discussed earlier, but also because crit is just a great way to deliver a lot of damage, especially in no CP. And on the back bar, I'm using an infused bow, mainly because it gives us a source of major expedition without taking up a bar slot thanks to the hasty retreat passive. and I'm using a weapon damage glyph to pump up our weapon damage even more. With Major Expedition from the bow passive, Minor Expedition from our Hurricane ability, our medium armor passives, and our orc passives, we'll be faster than almost anyone else we come across. The thing is, it's only worth investing in all that mobility if we leverage it and use it as an advantage. I think of the playstyle kind of like a Nightblade, not that we're using stealth, but we have a similar advantage in that we can engage and disengage with fights pretty much at will, because by the time our enemy breaks CC and tries to retaliate, we're already out of range and circling back around to try and land our combo again. Let's talk about the skill bars. For my main spammable, I'm using Rapid Strikes. This ability hits really hard, and I like that it hits multiple times per second. Each one of those strikes can crit, which means I'm potentially critting multiple times per cast, and thus proccing the Briarheart heal multiple times as well. For my execute, I'm using Whirling Blades. Even though the execute bonus kicks in at 50%, it's best to wait until your target gets around 25% health to use this ability. Until then, your Rapid Strikes is still going to deal more damage. The fact that it's AoE means you can potentially crit on multiple targets at once and again get multiple heal procs from Briarheart. And I think the Whirlwind animation just fits the StamSorc theme perfectly. Camo Hunter, this ability is just slotted for the passives. It gives us our major crit buff at all times on the front bar, and it grants us minor berserk when we deal critical damage to an enemy's flank. And since we're using Hurricane, we're basically always hitting somebody's flank, and so the uptime on that minor berserk is going to be close to 100% during combat. And it's a Fighter's Guild ability, which means it gives us an extra 3% weapon damage thanks to the Slayer passive. Bound Armaments, this is another ability that I'm just slotting for the passives. Even though it does have an active component, I really don't find it worth using most of the time, but it is still worth slotting just for the passives. It gives us an extra 8% max stamina and buffs our light attack damage by 10%. It's also a Daedric summoning ability, and so it activates the Daedric protection passive for an extra 20% stamina and health recovery. And it's a Sorcerer ability, and so it activates the Expert Mage passive for an extra 2% weapon damage. Between this ability and Camo Hunter, I'm getting a ton of benefit, and I don't really even have to think about it. These abilities can just sit on my bar, and I can forget about them, and they're making me stronger in several ways. Streak. This ability is probably the best part about being a Sorcerer, and on a build that's focused on speed and movement, it's a no-brainer. It's great to use offensively or defensively, and it's one of the best anti-stealth tools in the game. And it's another Sorcerer ability, so we get another 2% weapon damage for having it slotted thanks to the Expert Mage passive. And for my main offensive ultimate, I'm using Dawnbreaker of Smiting, still one of my favorite ultimates. It hits super hard in an AoE area and stuns everyone it hits, and it's another Fighter's Guild ability, so we get another 3% weapon damage from the Slayer passive. On the back bar, I'm using Magnum Shot for my main CC, Poison Injection for a little extra pressure, especially when the target is in execute range. Hurricane is our main armor buff. It gives us Minor Expedition for the duration, and it deals constant AoE damage, so it's great for preventing Nightblades from sneaking up on us. Critical Surge, this is where we get our major damage buff, and it also causes our critical attacks to heal for quite a bit, which stacks very nicely with Briarheart, as we mentioned earlier. This allows us to stay aggressive and not have to run and hide every time we take some damage. This is a stamina build, so of course we're using Vigor as our main heal. With this, Critical Surge, Briarheart, and Troll King, we have ample self-healing power, and unless somebody can burst us down within a couple of seconds, we're going to be fairly difficult to kill. And for my back bar ultimate, I'm using the Charged Atronach. I'm really only using this so that I can have the Daedric protection passive on both bars, so I can keep that extra health and stamina recovery when I bar swap. But it can also be nice to use sometimes, especially for flag games. The AoE stun is nice, it deals pretty good damage, it provides a body block, and it gives your teammates access to major berserk, so not a bad ult at all in the right circumstances. The main offensive combo is pretty simple. Start on your back bar, hit them with Poison Injection, then CC them with Magnum Shot. I like to roll dodge cancel the Magnum Shot and use that roll dodge as a gap closer. Swap to the front bar and lay into them with your Rapid Strikes, or if Dawnbreaker is up, hit them with Dawnbreaker, then spam Rapid Strikes, and when they get around 25% health, spam Whirling Blades to finish them off. And that brings us to the end of my updated Stamina Sorcerer build video. I hope you enjoy it. If you have anything you'd like to ask or share, feel free to leave a comment or email me at ketsparrowhawk@gmail.com. Until next time, good luck out there.